life's a choose your own adventure, right? We have choices we make. And in the position I'm in right now, Matt, it's really difficult because I watch a lot of solopreneurs or young entrepreneurs. Like I can't afford to hire somebody. And the real answer is you can't afford not to, because you have a certain bandwidth in your day, and that's that. And the truth is, and what I've learned, and I actually experienced it this morning, I'd love to tell that story, is that when you learn what you're good at and what gives you energy. So energy is the highest. People say, "Oh, time is something you can never get back," and money. And I'm like, the highest level is energy, because if you have good energy, you can earn more money and you use your time more wisely and you enjoy it more.
Craft Your Life is a radio show for the tenacious, the bold, and those who refuse to settle for mediocrity. We bring together visionaries, game changers, and relentless go-getters who are crafting their lives, businesses, and relations in pursuit of excellence. If you are ready to shatter limits, embrace the amazing, and live life on your own terms, this show is for you. Each episode delivers actionable insights, inspiring stories, and unfiltered conversations that will ignite your drive to win a life worth dying for. Tune in and get ready to live viciously. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Craft Your Life radio show. This is the show for the tenacious, the bold, and those who refuse to settle for mediocrity. I'm your host, Matt Kuehlhorn, and today we're pulling back the curtain on one of the biggest game changers in the entrepreneurial space. Our guest is a master of scaling operations, unleashing productivity, and building powerhouse teams without the overhead headache. The founder and owner of Hire VP, Mr. Scott Ramage. Scott has spent years helping business owners buy back their time, streamline their systems, and put the right people in the right seats. He's not just in the business of virtual assistants, he's in the business of freedom. And if you're ready to stop drowning in the weeds and start building the life and business you actually want, you're going to want to listen close. Scott, welcome to the Craft Your Life radio show.
Thank you, Matt. That was a fun intro.
Yeah. I'm really excited to chat with you, man. You've been, one of those folks. We've kind of danced in some of the same groups, but we haven't spent personal time just yet. And this is a time for us to connect. And I'm just excited to learn from you, man. Your reputation precedes yourself.
All right. Well, let's see if I can fill it. And
Let's see.
we have kind of danced around it. We tried to connect a few times and, doing business. And it just, sometimes it feels so weird. It's like, somebody, but you don't know them. So this is a great opportunity.
Yes, absolutely. I do want to kind of add a little context as we get into some of the details. And, the promise to the listeners is there's going to be some real good tips and tools out of here. And the whole premise of this show is around crafting. And how do we craft a business? How do we craft a lifestyle that's worth living? And sometimes I say worth dying for, because we're going to be here for our moments, and the days are precious. So take us back. What's the story of Hire VP? What's a little bit of your background?
Oh, wow.
Loaded
So
question.
how much time do you have now? It's interesting. I have a master's degree in education. So I started as an educator.
Okay.
Back in 2001 when I finished my degree. And I'm going to tell you a story that's going to lead to the story. So really quickly in education, I realized, one, I was super productive, and I really enjoyed my work, but I disliked authority. And I just was every day, why are people spending, extra time and weekends working? I mean, like I'm done. I got my lesson plans. I'm engaged with the kids. I was taking them to skate parks after school, doing things that we used to be able to do in the early 2000s, just super engaged. But it's like, there's got to be more. And so I started kind of search, and basically started a bicycle shop. I'd raced mountain bikes in grad school, and I became a wrench and got grad school. And so I started working on bikes, my summers, because I was bored. I'm like a busybody, like always doing something. And teaching, I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm tired of working for someone else. I'll just do this on the side in the summers. And I started in a 300 square foot spot. And I held a little little tech or a little mechanic thing for my customers, and 300 square feet was out the door, like just jam packed. And within like 3 months, I was in a 3,000 square foot and built a really great business. Quite honestly, I
Hmm.
had 5 full-time employees while
It's
I'm teaching.
amazing.
So,
Amazing.
and this is with my first kid and my second kid. So 5 years of this, and I kind of woke up to this fact of like, wow, I'm really good at business. I'm really good at teaching. I can't do both and be a father and a husband. So what was I sacrificing? Father and husband in the name of providing for my family. So long story short, I took on $300,000 of debt because of the way that the business, I closed it down. We had a buyer. He backed out in the last hour. I'm like, I promised my wife, I'm like, I'm just going to do this. And so thus goes the journey on entrepreneurial, always trying to find a way to make back that 300K, pay it off. We didn't want to file bankruptcy or anything. And when you have that drive, you're going to find ways to make money. But I promised myself at that moment in my life that I would never sacrifice myself as a father and as a husband at the cost of chasing money. And that was 2011, so many years ago when I closed that down, 2009, excuse me. And I've struggled with that same thing ever since. So in I started I was consulting for a fitness company in 2018. And what I found was I loved the work. I built out their sales system. I built out their customer experience. It's basically the integrator for their company. I loved the work, and I was working a lot. And I started this called the Brotherhood of Fatherhood in 2019. So I'm working for them. I'm doing Brotherhood of Fatherhood. I'm trying to do podcast editing. And my wife's like, hey, just time out real quick. We're kind of back to the early 2000s when you were working a lot, and now you brought on this other thing about being a good father and a husband, and it's taking your father and husband time. And um, I always have been kind of like a jack of all trades, so I was really proud of doing my own thing. My mentor at the time said, hey, Scott, you know what you need is a VA um, to help you, but you won't be successful at it. And I still haven't quite figured out if he truly meant it, because it's a very difficult thing for most people to find a good VA and to make it work. Or if he knew how I was wired, it might have been a little bit of both. And so I went down just a great research trail. I took master classes and webinars and did everything on how to hire a VA. I hired my first VA, paid her full time. She'd never been a VA before. And within a month, she'd completely taken over my podcast editing, was doing my social media management, and was doing reporting for this consulting. 3 months later, I have 3 full-time VAs doing a lot of the consulting work and the podcasting, social media. But here's what happened, Matt, is at that moment I realized I have 3 full-time people working for me. I'm making no more money, but I personally am still working 60 to 70 hours a week.
Mm,
And so I was really good at finding talent and delegating, but I was really not good at saying like, this is where I belong. I belong in my zone of genius doing this. This is where I get the highest return. Everything else should be delegated out. And then I have to actually put a stop and remember that I still need to do the same level of work for my family.
yeah.
And it was at that moment that everything changed. And I started to really kind of get into what are my zones of genius? What do I actually like doing? What things drain me? What things fuel me? And then a business grew out of it, because people were starting to ask, like, how are you have VAs? I've tried it, it sucks. And so that was 5.5 years ago. And I created an agency that's still alive and kicking today, that does social media, um, content editing. So a lot of reel editing, podcast editing. So I have this company that's running, but um, I had bought the company out for my partner. I had a partner, and we've had really great recurring revenue. And I lost 70% of that recurring revenue as soon as I bought the company. Totally unrelated situation. Uh, and I had to lay off my manager. I had to go in like working crazy hours again, and I had zero money. I spent it all, and my family, I mean, that was the money. So I had this conversation at the dinner table with my family, and I told my boys, like, I'm gonna have to, like, mom and I've talked. I have to go all in on work. I have to work massive hours, and we're cutting back on everything. We have to live really tight. My oldest at that time was 18, 17, and he said, Dad, you work so hard. I don't know anybody that works harder than you, and it just seems unfair that you're just always struggling. It's like, oh.
Mm, bro.
But that was fuel for me, and really soon after that, I got a referral for this media machine company, and this gal, I'm talking to her, and the whole time I'm like, "You don't need my service, you need your own VA. Someone who knows your business and someone who can understand your core values and operate the way you want them to operate and fill your gaps and do all these things. We can only provide a little sliver of that." And mind you, I'm still desperate for money, and I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do here and how I'm going to resurrect this business. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to charge you to get your own VA because you don't need my service. And that was the start of Hire VP. And from that moment on, it was just nonstop. And when I found
Wild.
that need and filled that need for one person, it was like fire. She told one person, and that person told four people. And then it just built up, and Hire VP was born, just one out of my need for something, a solution for my family. Um, and it was a problem that I had solved for myself. And so it was natural. And I'm like, it's that whole solve a problem for somebody else, and they'll pay you. And so that
That
was
is
that was how
wild.
Hire BP was formed. It's had its iterations, and it's grown into what it is now. From me doing it solo to me hiring my first VA specifically for the company, who then became like my EA, who then became the operator, who's now back to being my EA. Because honestly, Matt, you'll know this now. Probably the biggest leverage us as business owners can have is a trustworthy executive assistant. So even though she could run the company, I'm like, nah, you're coming back with me because I can run at such a higher level with you in my pocket. So that's the story of Hire VP in a
Amazing.
nutshell.
What does your day-to-day look like today?
So this is one thing I'm learning about business. I'm very good at delegating. I think our internal team is 16 full time. Four of those are Americans. And um, I can walk away, go on vacation, not answer the phone. Um, I am wired to be a part and lead. And so my day to days are, they're quite honestly, I love working. I have no finish line. I think John
Yeah.
Maxwell, I was listening to
Yeah.
him on Ed Milet years ago, and he said, "This is the first time I ever got permission to understand that I have no finish line." He's like, he goes, "I had a jar of marbles." And I don't know if this is true or not. It's a beautiful story. So I had a jar of marbles on my desk, and there was a number of how many days I had left before my retirement. And he said, on the last day I took that marble out, and he goes, "I'm literally losing my marbles because I can't stop working." And
Hmm.
it really resonated with me. So right now I have freedom of location, which is a phenomenal, we're 100% remote, and that is a phenomenal freedom. And I really do have freedom of time, but I believe that I personally was called to be a leader of the leaders in my company, and I have so much to give. And so I do have like a 3-hour morning routine. I get to do workout. I go for a ruck every morning. I spend time with my family, but I've designed work around life instead of
Mhm.
my life around work. So I think that's the
Yes.
best way to explain what my life is like now.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're really speaking to freedom, and I run the same way. Like, I can't stand the word retirement because I don't think that exists. I mean, I'm just excited to continually de-risk my risks
Yes,
and
exactly.
lean in and then be able to design my day as I'd like to design it, right? And I'm getting closer and closer to that. So that's beautiful. What do you think the real cost of an entrepreneur trying to do everything themselves? What's what is that cost?
Well, one of my coaches asked me that in a group, and you might know him as Carl. Carl's kind of like a master of the words and how we work with
Yes,
people.
he
But
is.
I said, well, a business owner might be overstressed and not really grow to the level that he or she can, which is true. I mean, you have to hire and delegate to move to elevate. And he goes, no, no, what's the real cost? I said, well, I mean, like me, you kind of lose track of your family and your wife, and it causes problems, and you struggle with yourself. You struggle with, like, what am I doing? And then you feel like everyone else is at fault because you're not giving them the time and attention they actually need when you think it's money, right? Like, I'm not giving them money. They should be happy. Um, he said, no, no, deeper than that. I said, well, man, I guess if a guy doesn't, if he's not fulfilled and he's working too much and he's filling everything, he's not connecting with his wife, and she might ask for a divorce. He's like, yeah, we're getting somewhere. And he said, what's next? I'm like, well, he might have a severed relationship with his kids and the rest of his family. Okay. And he got me all the way to suicide with this. And so I really feel like life's a choose your own adventure, right? We have choices we make. And in the position I'm in right now, Matt, it's really difficult because I watch a lot of solopreneurs or young entrepreneurs. Like, I can't afford to hire somebody. And the real answer is you can't afford not to, because you have a certain bandwidth in your day, and that's that. And the truth is, and what I've learned, and I actually experienced it this morning, I'd love to tell that story, is that when you learn what you're good at and what gives you energy. So energy is the highest. People say, "Oh, time is something you can never get back," and money. And I'm like, the highest level is energy, because if you have good energy, you can earn more money and you use your time more wisely and you enjoy it more. And so once I learned, and once somebody learns what gives them energy and what gives them the best ROI, that's when things change, because they're like, wait a minute, if I can get rid of this thing that I thought only I could do, I could spend more time doing that. And the math starts to work. And sometimes you have to take a step back in your salary or in your comfort level to rise up to that level. But you're taking it's the stupid saying, one step back, two step forward. It's very, very true. And it's really difficult for young entrepreneurs or even some old ones to really understand that equation. But man, once you do, it's like a relentless pursuit of getting more of it. And I think this is what separates these solopreneurs and guys that, cap out at a certain revenue per year or whatever, is they're maxed. They can't do it. And then there's guys that, like, how are they doing it? They figured that one thing out. Like, if I stop doing this here, and I'm okay with that not being a part of my identity, which is a big thing as well. Um, wow, I can do a lot more. And then they repeat and repeat and repeat, and they have this team. And the business becomes about the team more than it comes about the individual. And the individual's like, my focus now isn't like building a legacy for my family. It is. That's the main focus for me. But then it becomes, wow, I can give this person an opportunity to go way more further than they ever would have. And it just gets really big in your head. And so it's a game. And for me, it all started in the pursuit of EHR, earned hourly rate. And I had a friend say, like, look, how much really do you earn per hour? And I'm like, working 80 hours a week. I'm like, golly, it's like $5 an hour. He's like, okay, you're telling me you can't afford to have someone mow your lawn. Well, you're right. You work at $5 an hour. So mowing the lawn costs more than that. And so I started to make a game, and I started calculating my EHR. I'm like, wow, the less I work, the higher my hourly rate goes. And I'm talking about work, guys. When you're sitting at the computer on your lap in the living room and your family's watching a movie and you're answering emails or coming up with ideas or drawing diagrams, that's work. You have to be relentless. Figure out how much you're making per hour on that. And then you'll start that relentless pursuit of, wow, I got to get rid of answering my emails. That's
Mm.
ridiculous. Or I've got to, stop sending invoices, doing AR and AP, because yeah, that's money coming in, but it's always waiting on me and it's backed up and I don't have the cash flow. It's like the equation is super simple. It's super simple, but it's very difficult for business owners to get there because, like I said, that identity, a lot of times we built this alone. And so our identity is in every step of it. And I'll say one last thing before I take a breath is if you've read Buy Back Your Time from Dan Martell, he so eloquently says 80% done by someone else is 100% awesome. And here's the challenge I would have for Dan today, any day. I truly believe that when I really learned how to delegate and I took the things that I am not great at, I'm probably good at them. I'm good at them. I wouldn't have been able to build a business if I wasn't. But if I took those things I'm good at and give it to someone who's wired for that, it's not 80% done by somebody else. It's 100% done by someone else is better than the 80% I was doing because I'm spread thin and I can't give my all. But if you have that person that's wired for it and that's their role, then it's like my EA is going to do better um, telling my bookkeeper what each of these categories is on expenditures than I am because I'm gonna be like, this sucks. I hate doing this. And I'm gonna like sit there and like, I don't care. It's whatever. Where she's just gonna take the time to do it right. And so it's always gonna be better when someone else has the time to do it. And as a business owner, most of the time you should be spent doing something else.
Yes. Oh man, so much to unpack there, Scott. Again,
Good
we can
luck.
carve out the next 2 hours for this one.
Right.
There's, it's just fascinating because, I've shared with you before this conversation that, through your company, I've got a VA, and it is the first time in 4 or 5 attempts that there's actually what I would consider a hit. And now I get it because in the past, like I was like, okay, I could delegate off some email, and there's so much here. There is a art and a science to delegating, and learning how to do that is a skill set. And then now that I've got a VA that really has taken off some of the things that would just drive me down. I mean, you mentioned energy and I get it. There's a component of like, okay, how it goes into identity also. It's like, how do I identify? How does an entrepreneur identify what they're really born for? What's the juice, right? And some of that is self-awareness. Be like, oh, I love getting in front of the camera. I love marketing. I love whatever it might be, or I love the numbers. Give me spreadsheets. Like that's not my cup of tea, but it is for some people. And people have different personalities. So self-awareness is a skill set. There's delegation, self-awareness, and then this component of identity. And this is probably where I'm at currently because now I can, I'm at this point and it's a gift and an honor to be able to develop a team, to be able to run a lot of the day to day. And so I'm not as heavily involved, and it can bring up things of like, well, what do I do? Where's my worth? What is happening there? And so I don't know where we want to go. I kind of like the identity piece. I mean, for folks that you've seen and in your own journey, when that transition happens, how do we let go? How do we like form the next layer of identity? Because I would on a personal note, Scott, even, you know, I started Cooler 10 years ago. And before that, I've had a little litter of LLCs. And so I fully recognize the first 10 years of this company journey, I've been on the grind. And it is part of Matt's identity that now I have to let go in order to be more present for the special moments of the family. And it's just a different pace, if you will. It's a different being to the whole thing. And I still struggle with it, even though I understand identity. I've got lots of tools around crafting an identity. But what have you seen? What would be tips and like it could go on so many levels there, but
Yeah, identity is such a big thing, and I know you've done work around this because you were referred to me, something that you taught some other people.
yeah.
The I don't think that it's a journey that ends. I think number one, you have
Agreed.
to accept the fact that this isn't an overnight fix because I am wired to move fast. My coach says I have all gas pedal, like I'm all
Yes.
gas pedal. So if we're not fixing it immediately, I'm like in like churned up inside. So I had to come to peace with the fact that the identity thing is much bigger than can be fixed really fast, because every phase of business, there's an identity, um, a little bit of an identity crisis. So I took a bunch of time off recently, and so I'm sitting there, wondering, is everything going okay? And then being at peace with it, and then coming back and realizing, oh, not everything was okay. I need to come in. And so, and spend a little more time and manage this. But I think I had to get a much bigger picture of what my end goal was than I had ever done before. It
Mm,
can't be money. Like,
mhm.
it just couldn't be
Yeah.
money, because that's so unfulfilling. I thought, today, if I were to look at this 3 years ago where I'm at today, I'd be like, "Wow, I have 0 issues." Like, this is what I didn't even dream this big, right? And so, 1, it can't be money. And so then what that really challenges us, because that's kind of what we've been told to search our entire life, is like money or this car or this house or whatever it is. And, my coach made me go through a visualization. He's like, "And I know you love your morning routine and you have everything done, but if you had just a little more time, what would you do? And what would your perfect day look like?" And it's always changing. So I'm always like, I try not to look at the horizon, because you can never reach the horizon, because it's always moving further. But I do kind of have this feeling of understanding that my purpose is getting bigger and bigger and changing as I age. And I think that's been the piece that I've had to come to, is like, identity is a never ending journey. Purpose is a lot of work. So those are commingled. I just had an experience yesterday. There's a few roles that I'm still customer facing in, and one of them is what we call, open mic hour. So I do it every other week, and some of our business owners and clients come in, they talk about where they're winning, where they could use some help. There's a lot of ideas exchanged. Like, this is
I love
what's
that.
working for me. And then, like, we had one a couple weeks ago. It was just only a sales conversation. We had like just sales gold, and everyone's like, "Oh my gosh," and they're connecting afterwards. And um, and so I love these things. I'm like, this is one of my roles in the company. Well, yesterday, my son has been in a um, ambulance 3 times in 2025 already. Um, and yesterday, of course, I have this scheduled, and he's like, "I can't sleep." I'm like, so we had to do an emergency dental appointment, and guess what time it was at? It was on that call. I'm like, this is the one
Oh
thing
my
I still kind
goodness.
of really have my hand like in front of the clients. And so, my operating director, she did it. I got but then the feedback came back from everybody, like, "That was amazing," and clients were texting me, and my team was like, "Holy cow, she just absolutely crushed it," and I felt myself sink.
Hmm.
And so I think there's a lot of self-awareness that has to happen. At that moment, I'm like, my identity is not on how I'm performing for the business owners that we're serving. They don't need to see me as a hero. They don't need to see me as the person delivering the product. So at first I sunk, and so you really have to identify those things that are tied to your identity, and then step back, pause for a minute, give space, and ask yourself the question, do I just want to be known as the guy? Is that really what defines me as successful? Or could it be okay for me to be defined, for me to define success as someone else doing maybe a better job than I did? And
Mm.
so, I think the biggest thing I've learned is that it's ever changing.
Hey everybody, this is Luke from Cooler Garage Doors. Just want to take a quick second to talk about our sponsor, Sommer Garage Door Openers. In our opinion, Sommers are the highest quality product on the market today. We recommend them for all of our residential garage door installs because of the variety of features they include, such as Wi-Fi connectivity and safety features such as a fixed chain, which moves along a secure rail to ensure your garage door opens quietly and safely. Click on the link in the description to learn more about Sommer Garage Door Openers.
I'd agree with you. I think it is ever changing. I mean, that's the beauty of the life's journey, because once we think we've got to a degree, like, and leadership is an endless whole of itself. Like, you can intertwine those together, because I can completely resonate. It's like, okay, I know on a logic base that it makes sense to get people that are better than me into roles and have them run. And now I'm just a guide. And I think that's what I really, really,
Love that.
really deep down am is a guide. And it's a true honor. But there's an emotional twinge or an attachment. And it's like, oh, well, if I'm not going to do that, who am I?
Yeah. Yeah, I've been going down the like a lot with the Dan Sullivan stuff. So 10x is easier than 2x. Was kind of a book that really kind of shook me because I've always been, I'm going to do 80% of this stuff and the 20% is everyone else, until I learned to really delegate and then really learn to step back. But even then, reducing by 80%, I'm like, well, who does that leave me as? And that gave me that realization again that I was rooting my identity in work. Even though I thought I'd
Mm,
fixed it, I was
yeah.
still rooted in my work. And then this is interesting. So this is part of my journey right now, Matt, is I became okay with being the guy that once in a while has to come in and show everybody how to throw the ball. So, I started the company, I created all the processes, and sometimes they're so focused on throwing a curveball that they can't even get it to first base because they're so like in the nuance. And I just got to come in and say, hey, like, look, we can get the ball over there really simple. Just throw it. So I came in and did some recruiting last week and it was really
Mm,
successful. And like, wow, that was like 15 steps less than we do. Maybe we need to take a look at the processes again. So, like, I can come in and share that genius without taking over. I'm a guide. I'm a
yeah.
guide. You said it. I'm a
Yeah.
guide now. Instead of like saying this is how you do it. Hey, watch me do it for a minute and then see where maybe you can improve. And then I've also learned that there's a lot of steps that they've done that have really made the process better too. But it's just I was worried about doing that. I was coached to do that. I have 2 different coaches. They're both like, "You need to get back in the game for a bit and show everybody how you started it." And I was worried about doing that. It would set us backwards. But I think as real true leaders and guides, we have to come in and sometimes and show them how to set the hook or show them how to catch a ball or whatever it is in our business. And I want to speak to anybody that owns a business and mourns a little bit of not being in the field. A lot of people you started doing the work
Yep.
yourself.
Yep.
And the chances are you actually kind of like doing it. I like doing
Mhm.
the work we do. People think I'm crazy, but I actually enjoy recruiting. I enjoy talking to candidates and being like, no way. And oh man, you are amazing. Let me lift you up. Hopefully, we can give you some coaching and guidance. And I love doing it. And you're going to hear as you go through your business and the evolution and you get more involved in books and things, you're going to hear like the real win is stepping out completely and being able to disappear on an island. And I don't believe that for a minute because the guy who loves getting in a very hot attic and working on the HVAC system when it's down, that's where they started, doesn't want to do it all the time anymore, but feed your soul and go do it once a month. Go
Yeah.
show your team how
Yeah.
it's done. Like we have to have permission to still do the things we love, even though our ROI is much higher in connecting with possible clients or running to their house and really connecting with them and doing like saying, hey, I'll have a bid drawn up for you. Maybe that's where the best money is. But boy, get yourself sweaty and get in there because that's going to feed your soul.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and that's something I've learned to do because I'm wired to do it. So I'm gonna make sure that I get that fixed once in a while, and it keeps me in the game. It keeps me sharp.
Yeah. I love that, and that's a really good component. I think there's an ROI in the culture too, because team loves seeing it. You're like,
Yeah.
"Yeah,
I
let's
just be
go. Still
careful. Be
got it."
careful. These gurus out there telling you, the 4-hour work week. I remember reading that. It's like, oh, and you can live anywhere, and you're working 4 hours a week. I tried it. I tried it in my business once. Not this business, a different business. I had it at the place. I was absolutely miserable. I
Yeah.
was taking my wife out to lunch all the time. We were doing really cool stuff. I was mountain biking every single day. And one day I stopped in the middle of my mountain bike ride. I'm like, this isn't even fun anymore. Um, and so I think a lot of business owners are chasing something that's probably not even what they should be chasing because that's what other people are telling them to chase. But the true freedom is like for me, it's freedom of location. I can work from anywhere, but it's in making that choice today. Do I want to do that thing, or is it okay? Do I have the structure in place to go spend an hour with my wife and go mountain biking? That's the true thing I think you should be pursuing.
Yeah, you bump up on what I think is one of the most difficult questions to answer is what do I want?
Hmm.
And what I've recognized in, my professional development and in just listening to different gurus and noise is there's so much noise and it's all maybe delivered with good intentions.
Oh
It's
yeah.
also delivered with a sales motive a lot of times. And what I finally recognized was that like I've got all the tools. I just need to focus in on what I want and go to work. And at the end of the day, it might not look like this person said or that person said, or, the 4 hour work week is a great title for a book, but it's not I mean, it'll sell some books.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, that question,
Yeah.
what do you
I
want?
just think it all goes back to identity and purpose, and we can't have the same one that everybody else has,
Right. Yeah.
right?
Otherwise we'd be redundant.
Yeah, and I do warn, I coach people, business owners, and I warn them about when they read books or listen to podcasts, you have to put it through some sort of filter.
Hmm.
And even for Dan Martell's Buy Back Your Time, it's super popular right now. People are like, "Oh, I'm gonna get an assistant to do this, this, and this." I'm like, "Well, number one, you're really limiting what an assistant can do. Um, and number two, just so you know, he's really oversimplified it in the book because that sells and it gets people excited.
Hmm.
So, like, just because you got somebody and you say, "Oh, refer to this chapter," doesn't mean it's going to fix it. And you know that you've tried multiple VAs, probably the
Yes.
wrong people in the wrong seats, right? But you still have to learn how to do the thing the way that you need to do it, and shortcuts just aren't shortcuts.
Yes. Yes.
It just they just don't really exist.
It is so pertinent, and we could talk a little nuts and bolts for listeners. And I think this goes to all of delegation and that skill set, but certainly my experience with VAs, like every time it didn't work out, I didn't look at the VA as the problem. I looked at me and my systems as the problem.
Mhm.
And so every next time I had a component of it ironed out, and then there was another problem. I was like, that's my system and me again. And so it just kept iterating, and literally 4 or 5 times. And now, like, this last moment was probably both, like, the right person that gelled with my personality, that understood and would take on these tasks that would just bog me down. And she's just like, "Cha, cha, 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 cha. Done. What else?" I'm like, "What?" But it was also the systems. Like, I had to get into some of the nitty-gritty that would bore me to tears and would take an exorbitant amount of energy. But once I did that, it was done. And now I could actually delegate it and hand it off and somebody could run with it. Um, Other tips for delegating, Scott, that are top of mind.
It's never ending. We get a lot of people that come on sales calls or I don't think I can get someone for full time. Like my EA today, Chloe, I said, "Chloe, I'm like, I just keep pouring it on." She's fueled by it. She's wired for it, right? It's like this is
Yes.
like give me the as much as you can. I'll tell you when I'm full, which is kind of a lie. She won't. She'll just keep working. But um one, when you figure it out, it is like turning the faucet on full and you like
It is.
you and you're I mean, this morning so one is first identify what causes friction. And I become an ultimate friction identifier. This morning I was so frustrated because I had to switch bookkeeping and they're like, "Hey, fill this out." I go in and they're wanting me to go through every single I'm like, why am I categorizing my things I bought? Figure it out. That's what like I've had this delegated before. And so then I'm sitting there going, and sat there and categorized it, and then it came up to Amazon. I'm like, "I have to look up in Amazon every time I make an order for the business?" Like, as I had systems in place, my last bookkeeper would just log into my Amazon. Like, this one's not going to do that. I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay, I'm going to do this one more time. This is the concept. I'm going to do this one more time. Turned on Loom, which is a video screen
Mm-hmm.
recording.
Mm-hmm.
Opened up my Amazon. Said, I'll give you the login for Amazon, which she already has. Here's the login for this system they're using. And okay, it's $24.99. Go look in here. What was $24.99? Kind of say, oh, this is office equipment. Boom. Ask me any questions you have. Check this every day or twice or 3 times a week. I don't ever want to touch it again. Done. But the first thing was identifying that angst it caused me. Like, you have to, most people are so numb to just doing the work that they don't realize how much it's slowing them down. And so having a really good meter on what is the things that are kind of like really pulling at you, where you're like, you just do them out of numbness. I tell this story all the time, and I'm going to tell it one more time. Um, it's I heard this from, I don't know if it's Jim Rohn or someone epic from the past. And this guy's on a road trip, and he really has to go to the bathroom. Really has to go. Finally gets to a place, pulls in, he runs into the bathroom, and he's hit with a smell. And he's like, okay, but he has to go. There's no way he cannot go. And there's a guy walking out as he's coming in, and he's hit with the smell. And he's like, how is he not like gagging? Right? So his mind is there. Okay. So this gentleman goes, spends time doing what he needs to do, and he's getting there, and he gets up and he washes his hands to go out, and another person comes running in and has that hole, right? And he's like, huh, I don't even notice it now. That guy that's been sitting in the bathroom because he had to get the work done is numb to the smell because he's been in there long enough that's the new
Mm-hmm.
norm. Business owners, a lot of them are sitting in a really stinky situation, and they're sitting in a place that they should not be in. It's not healthy for them. It's not productive, but it's what they've always done, and it's numb, and they don't even notice it anymore. So become the person that starts to find a way to recognize the things that bother you, because that's where you're going to get the absolute most back. I am a student of this forever. This morning on my rock this morning, I'm like, I gotta file my business in 2 new states because I have employees from 2 states. This is such a pain in the ass. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know how to do it. Of course, I can ask AI. I don't know what the steps are, and I always forget to check in quarterly and pay the things. And how do my brain? And I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna shoot a loom. Hey, here's what I found on AI about being an employer in this state. In this state, I already have these 3 things. I need you to create, I need you to log in or create logins, share them, put them in my LastPass, and go through, do everything you know how to do, double check anything you're questioning, but don't ask me. Ask my accountant. And it was like, oh my gosh, I just unlocked another level. I don't have to be the guy that goes and does the tax work or the state work for my employees anymore. So I am constantly questioning every single thing I do. And I think that's the first thing you do. And then the next thing I was saying earlier is do it one last time really good
Yeah.
and record it and pass it on, and then trust but verify.
Actually, I love that phrase. I'm going to do it one last time.
Hmm.
And that
Yeah.
kicks it. It's like,
Yeah. And
all
it's a
right.
little slower because you're recording and you're talking about it. But when you're like,
Yeah.
guys, I'm addicted to that. The Loom has this little beep when it's done. Like, here's your link has been like, you can copy it now, you can paste it now. I'm addicted to that now because I'm like,
Yeah.
whoa, I just
It's one
unlocked a
last
new
time.
level. I don't have to do that again. I did it with I never had someone else book my flights because they might not pick the right seat for me. And I did that one last time yesterday. I'm like, international, we'll get there when we get there. But right now, domestically, now you know everything about how I like to fly. I went through the process.
Mm,
I booked the flight. Um, it's just addicting. It's awesome.
yeah. All right. I got some good notes. Um, Scott, let's start putting a little bow ties on here. I've got the Cooler 5. This is a quick
Okay.
hit round for you. So we'll go 5 questions, rapid fire style. What's one task you will never do yourself again?
One, uh, anything bookkeeping.
Anything bookkeeping.
Yeah.
If you were gifted an extra 10 hours this week, what would you do with them?
Oh, I would go shoot my gun, go for a mountain bike ride, and take my wife on a date.
Love that. Most underrated skill every entrepreneur should master.
Pause. Taking a pause when things come at you and they seem insurmountable or they seem like they're going to crush your business or it's the end of the world. Take a deep breath, pause, and look at it from a pragmatic, uh, just a way more objective manner, and you'll solve solutions or solve problems so much better.
Mm, I love that one. And I can just tell intuitively that that is a learned piece of wisdom.
I am full gas.
Yeah.
And so when a client sends a message in the past that says, I'm not happy with the service, I'm like sending messages to my team, fix this now and this never happens again. Let's get an SOP in place,
Yeah.
calling the client personally, which is all good. But if I would have paused and asked my team, hey, do you have any insight here? And they told me, oh, yeah, this totally contradicts what they asked us to do. We actually did what they asked us to do. And now he's mad at that because it
Yes.
didn't turn out the way he wanted.
Yes.
Oh, so I just ruined the whole like situation.
One book, podcast, or resource you'd recommend over and over.
In my line of business, Who Not How is brilliant. But honestly, I would have to say for anybody, it's The Gap and the Gain
Hmm.
by Dan Sullivan and Dr. Ben Hardy. Just really different
Yeah.
focusing on what you've gained rather than where you've yet to go. That is a game changer for me and got me out of like the wrong mindset into um, a, a better level of gratitude and uh, learning to accept the wins that I've had.
Yeah. Beautiful. Finish the sentence. Success feels like.
Stretching.
Stretching.
Yeah, just always stretching.
Yeah. Not having the same problem this year as next year.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Scott, I really appreciate this convo. I know we could go for another couple of hours. Where's the best place for people to connect with you, learn more about Hire VP, kind of follow your journey?
Yeah, I mean, I'm present in myself and my team through Facebook, so it's Scott Ramage, and same with Instagram. Most people just messaging me there. My website is hirevp.us, but just reach out to me personally. It's my favorite thing to just hear about the questions people have and then get them into talking to the people that know better how to do it better than me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I appreciate the value you brought today, your authenticity, just the service that you bring into the world. And um, I have a slew of more questions. So we're going to follow up again and again.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
thank you. I really appreciate
Thank
your
you.
time.
Thank you, Matt. I really appreciate it.
Really appreciate it if you would help us continue the momentum that we have in subscribing, sharing, and liking our show. Let's extract really cool conversations with amazing people that are out crafting amazing businesses, relationships, lifestyles. So let's grow this thing together and just know that you are appreciated.